I'm Jeff Pospisil, the 10-Minute Treasurer, with practical advice for improving your church's financial future. In this video, I'm going to be talking about one of the duties of the trustees, and that's to care for the legal responsibilities of the church. And this falls on the trustees, probably mostly because of their work with property, but also in a lot of our laws in the states, they just happen to be lifted up as ones that are responsible in a lot of cases. So the first legal area is in the area of property transactions. So if your church is buying or building a church building, or maybe they are selling a church property, the reason why this is complicated is that the church isn't like most normal um, property transactions where it's an individual or maybe it's a business with a clear owner. So who has the authority to buy or sell that property? That's where the trustees need to step forward and become familiar with it. By the way, I am going to put a link to the legal manual from GCFA, which should be a help in walking you through some of this as well. So there's a specific sequence of actions that need to be followed if you're going to do most of your major property transactions. And what do I mean by property transactions? So buying or building, if you're going to put a mortgage on a property, if you're going to sell it, if major improvements. So major improvements are where it's 25% or more of the value of that property is going to be poured into the project, or if you're going to enter into a lease. So those are the things that you have to keep in mind that that's going to trigger this sequence of actions. So here's the general process. First of all, the administrative council is going to have to approve it, or whatever you call your top church board. Maybe it's your lead team or whatever. The trustees might bring it to the administrative council for them to vote on, but it won't move forward until the administrative council approves. As soon as that happens, you need to bring your district superintendent into the know. Contact them, make sure they're aware of what the plan is, because if they don't approve of it, this plan can't go forward. All of our Methodist properties held in trust for the denomination, meaning that um, if the denomination doesn't approve of it, then the transaction can't happen. And your district superintendent's the one that will approve of the plan on behalf of the denomination. The next thing is you're going to have an all church vote or a special charge conference. You have to announce this at least 2 weeks prior to the vote. And also, you're going to want to announce it plenty of time ahead so that way you can prepare people for the vote. So, and you're going to approve a resolution. In that resolution, you want to be specific enough. So you're going to want to name specifically what property you're dealing with. And I always like to name who has authority to execute the deal on behalf of the church. So name people specifically. That'll just help make it easier when you go to work with a bank or a realtor or whoever it is to make the transaction happen. The pastor and the DS, they have to have some kind of written approval. And what I would probably do is on the bottom of that resolution, go ahead and just put a couple signatures that allow the pastor and the DS to approve by signing on that resolution. And then the last thing is then just allow the people that you named in the resolution to go out and execute the plan. So they might have to sign documents on behalf of the church, and that resolution is really the key to doing that. Um, I think there's a resolution in the legal manual for GCFA. If not, I will also include a link to one that I use uh, for property transactions as well. So the next area of legal responsibility is caring for our property records. And maybe I should expand this because really we have a number of permanent legal documents that we need to care for. And so really for the trustees, is there a place that we know we can put them and keep them so that we can eventually refer to them? So whether you got a safety deposit box with the bank, or maybe you got a fireproof safe at the church, where is that place? Because you're going to want the articles of incorporation if you're incorporated. You're going to want all your property deeds and titles. If there's other legal documents, maybe you have a trust or an endowment that maybe you want to keep safe. Those are the kinds of things that you want uh, that you don't know when you're going to need them, but you're going to really regret it if you haven't kept those safe. The last area we'll look at is reviewing contracts. And the reason I throw this under trustees is that most of the contracts probably apply to them in caring for their property, but also any other contracts besides your standard boilerplate ones like your cell phone contract or whatever it is. But just being able to bring this in front of people that have experience looking at contracts so they know what a good contract does and does not have. So here's what you should probably look for when you're reviewing a contract. First of all, are the payment terms clear? You should be able to tell exactly how much is owed and when it is owed. So that's important. There should be the terms on how it's renewed, or you can terminate it. So can you terminate the contract early, or does it automatically renew, or how do we, if we want it to renew, how do we renew it? So those, hopefully those are clearly in there. Uh, Sometimes important dates and deadlines, like maybe if you want to avoid it renewing, you have to contact him at a certain date. Or if you want to terminate him, you can terminate if you contact him before this date. Whatever that happens to be, make note of those. And then what to do if things go wrong. And this is where I found a lot of help from our lawyers too. But I mean, thinking about it, what happens if somebody pays late, or what happens if they don't provide the service for some reason? You know, what is the ways that how do we resolve that when something goes wrong? The contract should detail some of that. And if there's any blank spaces in your contract, sometimes there's a boilerplate. And if any of those are blank, I would fill them in because you don't want to bring it in front of a judge and have one person's contract have stuff filled in and another person's isn't filled in. And that also goes to our next point is there should be two signed copies. So each party should have a signed copy of the contract. So that way, if there is a problem, then you can both bring it forward and you don't have to rely on memory or anything like that. All right, this is a ministry of the Dakotas Conference of the United Methodist Church and the Dakotas United Methodist Foundation. And as always, I encourage you to like, subscribe, share. That just helps everybody out and it makes me feel good. And you can find more of our stuff on www.dakotasumc.org. Have a good one.